Okay, guys, let's start. So it's a very basic introduction about HTML and CSS, and it's not about like each and every small properties and uh, small details in HTML and CSS. We talk more about the basic concepts, so how HTML works and how CSS works. So, and it's very basic. Skip HTML. The thing from this slide which is important is a markup language. It's not a full-fledged programming language with like all functional support and everything. Okay, so the hypertext markup language and
hypertext markup.
yeah, I can. Basically, initially when web started, the first documents were text documents, and then there was their ability to load documents from one document to another, and those were kind of hyper because you can link one document and other document can be like a file or it can anything, and it can totally different server or different domain. That's why this word hyper came from. So for this and markup, it's again like a XML is another markup language. So we have some tags to define something and define the structure and content of your document. Okay, so very initial section about HTML tags. So tag with the angular bracket and ends with the angular bracket. Same is B and slash B is used the and tag and B. So similarly, all those div, span, table, all those tags for start tag and end tag. Okay, so others some tags can come without pair. So there is only one tag like img tag. You can specify multiple attributes in the start tag, like in this format, like we have defined class. So class is an attribute whose value is t-body. So certainly you can have style, you can have width, and all sorts of attributes.
That context is pretty much like it's a markup language, right?
It's a markup language, much like XML, but the only thing it's not as strict as XML. So the way where it breaks, like it's not necessary that every start tag should have has a end tag. So that restriction is not there. And HTML is very specific to web browsers. The basic intention behind the HTML was to make kind of markup language which browser can understand and can display the content. So, okay, looks at how a HTML document looks like. Then we go into the more detailed concepts. So, we have a doc type declaration which tells browser that what type of HTML it is. There are different type versions of HTML like HTML4. You have XHTML, which is a strict XML base of HTML, and now HTML5 is there. This is a doc type for HTML5, so you don't specify any version. You simply doc type HTML, which is HTML5. We used to be like some URL and then you say HTML 4.0 or 4.1. Okay. The browser like what type of HTML I am using, and browser can use that thing to render your document. Based upon that, a browser has two modes to display document. One is search mode and other is quiz mode. Standard mode, it expects the HTML to be well formed when there not be any errors. So first tries to display your document in the standard mode if you have defined it. But whenever it finds first error, it goes back to the quick mode, which is error accepting mode, where browser tries to implement its own logic to overcome error. So, for example, if you have missed some end tag or something like that. So that the way HTML is not that strict. And you have head portion and the body portion of inside. In head portion, you have some thing called title of your page, and then lot of meta tags you can one is description, other can be keywords, and lot of other HTTP headers can come in the meta tags. So again, the additional information about your document, which one can use some action, or even search engines can use this information to directly inside your document. So if you want to provide some information, this is the place. Have some style sheets, CSS. We'll go more detail what is CSS and how we use it, how we write it. And similarly, you can add JavaScript code here, and you can even include JavaScript files from here. That goes into the head section. Basically, it is not a visible part. User, as a normal user, they won't see it in the browser. So, for the browser to work, to properly display your document. Then body part, which is more, I would say, more visible part, and the actual content of the page comes in the body part. We have all these HTML tags like div, table, img, span, and lots of other tags structured to so that you can display your document. Okay. So from now it goes in more details of like how browser displays and how each looks like and all. So any questions till this point? No, that's fine. So as we've seen, the body part is divided into either div tags or table tags or span tags, so different type of tags. So tags we use, what is the content, where some the actual content goes, the text part or something like that. But then there is some kind of presentation information inside with the tags. So to display documents, so by default, if you like even write some text and name the file as HTML, browser simply shows your text inside the browser without any like sections or something. Okay. So when you use different tags like div and span, you are basically telling the browser how to display my content. Okay. So basic thing inside HTML document is a box. It can be a table, it can be a div, it can be any tag also. If you set the proper display property, we'll see all more details. So if you talk about, let's say, let's start with div. So div element on the page. So this box model, that how each and everything goes like. So when you one div on a, you create a simple page. I have got to show also. If you want, I can. But take a look at this image. So you have this on the is the margin. So margin on the other elements. Then you really set the how should be the thickness of the border, what should be the color and all the details. Then the padding. Padding is the space between the content and border. Okay. And then can be anything. It can be further. It can text. It can be image. It can be further some nude or some span, or it can be anything. Each box has this kind of layout. Let me show you one, and then we can check. Okay, one more thing I want to introduce is the Chrome browser comes with a developer toolbar kind of thing which you can use to your HTML, JavaScript, CSS, whatever there is in front end, or I would say technologies, web UI, you can use your Chrome and to do this thing. Very right click on any element and say inspect element. You see the things. We'll introduce some of them one by one. So right now you are seeing how your on the left side you can see how your document is organized. This we have seen HTML, then head part, then body part, then this div, and right side it all shows the various values and it is associated with your this particular div. We have selected this div. Browser is showing Even on the top, you can see that yellow color thing. It's a padding.
Padding thing.
Yeah. Even let me check. Okay. So in this way, you can actually see how each box. It's like the same diagram which I took.
Yeah.
So you for this particular div, the 1 pixel, okay, and the margin is 5 pixel, and you can individually specify what should be the top margin, what should be the bottom margin, be left or right. Similarly, you can specify individual border, how the top border should look, how the bottom border should look, how the and how the right thing should look. Okay, and then yeah.
Go to padding. You want to see Firefox says that inspect mode. You can literally show the view of a page.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you see,
Yeah,
3D. Twitter is a very good example to see for you because it's really complicated.
yeah. Nowadays, no page is like a single layer. So that's the slide. So
You're defining the colors in your
sure. What was that one?
Where are you like?
Oh, yes. So this is I was trying to explain the box model. So first, quickly I will take you to things. So so each box has padding and margin and border. Okay. So and your question was okay. So you can see that here I am saying background should be orange. Okay. And I defined this thing in the not CSS in the same page. Means you can define CSS both in either in the same page or
create a CSS file.
yeah, different CSS files. Here I am defining somewhere here. Div 1 background should be orange. Come see all this thing in more details. How to define CSS rule, what type of thing and all. Okay.
Difference between div and pen.
I will do that. That's the next slide.
Okay.
So with the box, every element is like a box on the page.
Margin, border, padding, content.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is the display property, because based upon the display property, browser decide like how to do with each element. These bold ones are the important ones: block, inline block, and table. So this your element is you can hide the element and it's not there in the DOM itself. Fortunately, I don't have any slide to show a thing. I have
example in our
yeah. I have example, but I want to show something. Just one I want to do sort of like only the basic thing will go away for it. I will try to explain it. So space as Parth showed is the 3D arrangement. Yes, I have one slide. Let me quickly go to slide to explain this thing. So web page is not like a two kind of arrangement where everything is like every table inside a single. When we see a page, because our monitor is 2D only, the display is 2D, we see 2D thing, but actually it can be like a 3D where you can think about transparent layers which are placed on the top of each other. And based upon this Z index is a one thing we'll discuss about it. It's basically like whatever is the value of the Z axis towards our side when we are viewing it. And the higher the Z axis, the be more closer to us. And that should be coming on the top of other layers. So, yeah, exactly. Z axis. So instead of using the word Z axis, they use Z index. So this is like Z axis only. So axis it is like more towards you because you are looking at the monitor and to our side it's the positive value. So value it's more closer to you, and because more closer to you, it will come on the top. That's the find it.
Okay. So any page you should consider as a 3D only.
Exactly. And okay, one more thing which I want to tell in this thing, which unfortunately I'm unable. So default, there is a default layer on each. This is you can say the default layer. So you don't specify any Z indexes and all the other stuff. Each element will come inside this only. Think of a transparent sheet or a plane. So it is inside this only. Unless you change the position property and there are certain other properties. Only then it will come into the other layer or something like. So there is a default layer. Talking about the display property, we are talking about the this default layer. Though same rules are applicable to other layers also. I mean your not so default layers. Okay. But understand the display property. Think page like 2D plane. And each, as we seen, will create a box which we have seen with a padding and margin. Okay. And it comes in a plane. So let's say if what will happen if I remove this one and the T is towards on the top left corner of the page. Move this element, what will happen? This will come instantly come and take this place. So the gravity towards the top left corner of the page. Okay, it's a 2D plane. Each element is there, and so you take first element here, second element comes after this. All those rules are there. But think about this when you're thinking about the display and all the other stuff.
To understand it correctly.
Yeah. Where will it get placed by default?
Yeah, exactly. So let's come back to the display property, which clearly these file values, block, table, inline block, and inline. See individual. So have a right side code. Simply create 3 divs and write it one after one. There are no any other CSS properties. Only 3 properties are in the bottom are like width of 300 pixels and height, and you specify any display property. So by default, all divs will come one after one below another.
Okay.
So that's a kind of display block, because the block you specify a width to it, you can specify height to it, and it will come in the next line. So that is the 2 rules where block is. It can have width and height. So it block a box which you specify the width and height, and default one block will come below another. So each block will create a section in space. And
So in case the width is lesser, so will 2 will come next to div 1?
No, default no. By default, once each block element takes the full width available.
Okay.
Okay, whatever is the full, unless you specify a width. In our case, see, we have specified width. Pixels. If we do that, it will take the whole space available of the.
So suppose full pixels like suppose 650 pixels, then 300 it could have come together, right?
No.
Not like that.
Each element, let's say div 1 will have a width of 650. Div 2 have a width of
By
650.
default.
By default.
But when we have specified 300.
Yeah, if we specify the 300 by default, this behavior of going to the next line doesn't break.
It doesn't.
By default, every block element starts from a new line.
Okay.
So we will there are
block
different
element. What does the block element mean? Is it curly braces or?
the block element is, just have a look at this slide, Raj.
Okay.
Okay, because it's this one.
Got
So each element is like a block on the page with a margin is the from the next other elements. Then there is a border width, and then there is a padding. So each element has these 3 properties, and each box is like this only. Think about this 2D plane.
Okay.
So it is placed like this. now your question. So each element by default when display block. So but take the full width available parent and it will come in the next line. So default properties. So then okay, and then have in elements. One thing I missed by default, div tag, table tag, paragraph tags, all the elements are block level elements. So even don't specify the display property in the CSS, they will behave as the block elements. Then inline elements. Think about boxes. Only thing, these boxes you can't specify whenever some elements like span, then IG, anchor tags, B tags, all elements are elements. So they come in the same line basically. That's the meaning of inline. And you can't specify a width and a height to these boxes. They the width and the height of the content. So they are inside the content. This, for example, take the first span example. This is small text, and that's it. So on the page, the box will the width of this whatever is the text plus padding. Padding you can specify inside inline also. You can specify the margin also, but so you can't specify a width and you can't specify a height, and it won't go into the next line. So that is from a display block. Like, when you think about display block, you should think like you want to like create some blocks in your page, like to create one header section, then you want to create some left navigation, you want to some content section. So div block elements are for create some blocks on the page, and elements are for where you want to specify some styles to that part of the thing. So other you see, there is no need of to create any span tag here.
Right.
It's all single line. This is a small text and this is big and italic. We have created because we want to specify. Because, for example, you wanted to make that text red and that one blue. We want all of them in the same line. That's why we haven't created a div for it. We used in an element. Okay. So okay, okay, I have a kind of working example of it, which I have just created to explain. So I have created 3 divs. I will show the code also. So first 3 are block elements. I have specified. Okay, let's see the. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So what I have created one div for the thing, and then I have created 3 divs. All these divs are one on the page. If you see, they are coming one after one. They are going to the next line. I specified a width. So it's a class, and class is like a common attribute. We go more into that. What is class and ID kind of thing inside CSS. But you can see I have specified a width to it and height, some padding and margin, and rounds to each of them. So they are on the page. Okay.
Oh, when you go back to the code.
Sure.
Down a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So this is display block, the first 3 divs, and in that inside the CS we haven't said that okay display will be block. This is the default behavior of div element. Okay, come for the next.
The first 3 things you have mentioned the styles based on ID and as well as class, right?
Yeah, both.
Oh.
I explain all of them in the CSS part.
Okay.
So don't worry about that, how we have defined the CSS. So next 3 inline elements, span tags, span. So span 1, span 2, span 3. Then again one common class for each one and one ID for. So we have so the common properties to all those. Yeah. I have purposefully defined a width and height just to like let you know that it doesn't have any effect on them. This width is 200 pixels. These are very small boxes because much is 300 pixels. So pixel should come somewhere, but it's not taking that width because in element doesn't have a width or height associated with them.
Dynamics or anything.
No, element doesn't.
Don't bother her anymore.
Very lenient. We talked about it. Like what kind of people will write? So okay. So we have seen similar way. You can still specify the padding and margin, and it will work even inside the inline element. Then is the third one, which is inline-block. Oh, it's like don't think I have a slide for it. Let me quickly explain in my example. So it's like a mixture of both, half block and half inline. So it says inline block. So okay, let's go to the code part. All these three, even span tags, so by default they behave like inline elements. But because for this particular style, I have an inline display is the inline block, so start behaving differently. So now I specify width and height. Now they get it. But the difference from a block level element is now they won't go in a next line. So
Yeah.
that is called in block.
Okay.
Blocks basically, but they will come in a same.
Blocks from the perspective of what they are going to contain.
Yes.
But
Yes. Blocks because you can specify a height and width.
Height and width for this.
That's why they are blocks, and then because they can come in the same line. Okay. Any question on display property? No. Much clear. Okay, fine. Let's quickly go to the visibility is very small stuff. So on the, as I have told you, it's like a 2D space where each element takes some space, and the gravity is towards the top left side. So each by default tries to go towards the zero gravity. So and is you can hide some element. So hide a sense their space on that 2D plane remains there. So it's in that plane, but it's not visible to the user. So if I have this property visibility hidden, so most people get confused between display none, display visibility hidden. Because when you say display none, your element is not there in that 2D plane. It's from your visible tab, that 2D plane. When you say visibility hidden, but it's not visible to you.
Space occupied for
Yeah,
that.
that's why in this example I have clearly like when you visibility hidden, that's still there, but you won't see the actual content of that thing. But if instead if I would have said a display none,
It would have gone.
and I will come
to
all together, that space will go out. So visibility property of the HTML thing.
Differences between visibility and display.
Good interview question. Okay, so I already explained some part of Z index. Let's say it again. Even though your display is 2D, in general it's a kind of transparent layer arrangement where your Z index is like a Z axis which has a positive value towards the viewer side, As the Z index will behave coming on the top of each and every layer. Great stack order is always in the front, and then the condition, that is the if condition for it. It only that Z index property inside the CSS only works for elements which has a non-static position element. We'll talk more detail about position in all details. What is position? How it's different? But the only thing to remember about Z index it only works when the element has a non-static positioning. Okay, what is position? Let's go to the next slide. Maybe then we'll come back to we over this one. So And one more thing, come to Charles' questions which he asked. By default, the gravity is towards the top left side, and default, each block element takes the full width available. But change the default behavior. That by saying float left, float right. So float left or float right, what that element does is, if you say float left, it tries to go much left as possible if there is some top space above it. Even how can I put it? So if some element float left, and it by default a block level element can't go up, it will come in the next line. As in, because let's say if the total view size is 800 pixels, I have created two divs with a 300 pixels, but they will come one below other. But if the both float, what element will do? It will try to float towards the left side, and if there is enough space on top where fitting, it moves there.
Like a backspace
Yes,
on a text pad.
Same 2D element. Whenever you say an element to move float right, it to like break this default arrangement and tries to find a place if it is like best available kind of. If it is this place is available here, it will try to move up the leftmost place possible.
Like Word document, right?
Huh?
Like
Yes,
Word
the
document.
way we write document, so your space gets filled on the right hand side. When it is completely filled, then it comes automatically to the next line.
Yeah. So this is float kind of stuff where you. So float is very helpful. Let you have some block level elements and you create kind of columns out of them. Unless you say display block, it will goes to the next line, which you don't want. You want to show them like a columns after another. So they set a float left on them and they come one beside the other if there's enough space. Otherwise, it will go
back
down.
to the next one.
Yeah. So that is floating. That's a part.
So this is going on the block.
So these are very basic things. I'm not talking about any advanced property. These are like since the thing of CSS and HTML. So float and all positioning is support of some properties is not there in some browsers. Let's say display. So just like none block, inline, table, inline block. The rest of the values are not that consistent across all browsers. So we have others like list item and so. Yes.
How do you do it? For example, if you're designing a page, how do you ensure that page is consistent across? Do you have to is it measured right across all browsers, or do you have like a standard reference manual that?
No, thing is, yeah, you can go to the net. There are sites which you can check like whether this property is applicable in this particular browser. The other is you test out that browser to see if it's working or not.
Specific thing, I think in CSS also you can create the files which will say Firefox/something, then Chrome something, and then you'll have to put a logic at the load time, which fetch that CSS file based on the browser.
Okay, so talk about CSS more detail. So this is like an example of floating thing which I was talking.
Can you go back? So this sample is there, right? So maybe you want to explain that?
Yeah, in this example, if you see, so by default, if you don't say a image tag, you don't say a float left, it's a that word where actually it's inside the markup or the code. But when you say float left, it tries to find whatever is the best available left position. So that's why first goes toward left, and the rest of the content takes that space. But just look at this example because it's more clear in the sense another list UL element, and inside there are like 4 children. and they will come like the one below another, home, product, services, but you are in the same line, so you say float left. So because there is enough space on the screen, they come one beside the other, like in a single row. Let the half space is available, so then it will come into two rows: first home, product, and then services, then contact us. Okay. This is kind of you can clear this effect, because what happens with what's the side effect of float? Next element in the after a floating element, we have broken the default flow that tries to follow this thing. Yeah. Means, for example, if you have one day, the example, even something, let's say another some element with a very small width, even try to go into that space if that space is available, because it's a because we have broken the default flow and it goes that space.
Only adult type, right?
No. Anything else also that will follow that floating behavior.
Anything immediately after this, or
setting more, not setting some style to.
No, that is the thing.
It looks more like sticky.
It's a kind of bug which you can say. So what happens when this thing breaks, like the default behavior, the thing happens, and it happens to the next element also. Even if you don't specify any floating, it happens. So to stop
next element or next to next element also, or all the elements after that?
Whatever is the next element.
Only next element.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your bug is the design flaw, whatever.
You say that it's there, it's consistent, because now you have a kind of clear both option. So you can say whatever is the next element, you can say clear both. Clear next element has to say clear both, or there is other way which have this is cleaner way. You say this dot clear fix after, and then say content is dot display block, and this is kind of another hacky way of it if you don't want to clear both in the next element. To specify this clear fix class to what is last floating element. It's a fix basically. Clear float.
Visibility is hidden.
Is hidden. It's like showing a dot and okay. These are all CSS.
This is pure developer hacking, right?
No, but that is the cleaner. I should not include this slide first of all, but we are talking about floats, so you should know. That's the way we clear the floats. I clear both. On there is the next element, or you this kind of hack. Because in people say you should not add extra markup when it's not required, because you don't want to touch the next element. Then this is helpful.
That's entering.
Let's talk about the positioning. Positioning is the last thing in HTML concept wise. HTML ends. So let's quickly go through it. So positioning is, so we have to talk about the Z index. So page is like a 3D arrangement. So we have more control on this layer, you can say, and where to place our element inside that 3D element. So to control that thing, we have position property CSS, which has values. One is static, that's the default. You need not to specify it default. Then you have position absolute, position relative, and position fixed. Okay, quickly one will go through it. I have a live example also available. I can show that example. Even I guess that is better. Let's go to that example. Okay, I have created one page and I will name position static, position static, position static, position relative, position absolute 2, and this one lowest position absolute 3. Okay.
One is standing on.
Yeah, absolute 1 is going. So let's quickly go one by one. What does discuss how it's working inside this thing. So first thing is the default positioning, that's static, and it means your element is inside that default layer, which we talked. That is very important layer. Where element is there, and its so elements remains inside that plane or layer unless you change the positioning of it. So that's the positioning is very important. How to control, like which layer your element should go.
So default is basically
Default plane or layer is the layer when you don't define any positioning.
okay.
And it's like 2D space. Each element is one after one below another. Gravity is towards the top left.
So you define a positioning, so it is going to be related to the default plane only.
Yeah, that will talk. Let's understand that we are clear on the default plane. So by default, you for example, if you don't know what is positioning, you haven't used inside your document. So by your page is 2D, and it is coming one below the another and gravity towards the left. So that is the default layer. Okay, and that is when your element, if you specify positioning property, will go inside that plane. Okay. This positioning relative. Relative is, as I highlighted the word, the positive is position relative to its normal position, but different plane. I have to add this word inside it. In a different plane. Say, for example, we can look at the picture also. So first element is static inside the dotted plane. Dotted line is a plane here. The dotted plane. First element static, no positioning. Then second element, I have created it relative. And relative, I have given some like turn left from some top 10 pixels. So from its default position, it will like go that much top, that much left. And the case for that, this element also stays. So even element comes out of the that default layer, but still space for your element remains there. Default thing. I'm over in one. It's very difficult. It's okay. Don't worry. I will see more examples. Then probably you can think about. And okay, that is position absolute. Position absolute is when you say it should be kind of relative positioning, because whenever you say either relative, absolute, or the third one is position fixed, that your element is not there in the default layer. And position relatives, your element space remains there, but you place element on the top or left from its default position. Absolute is, as the word absolute says, it's absolute to the ancestor element that has a non-static positioning. Okay, this is going to be challenging. Okay, but still we'll try. Don't worry. I have some other examples. Why just go to examples, because it looks like people are not getting it. Okay, so we have first. Okay, let's look at the cursor. So see, it's plain like one div after another, one element. So by default, if I remove all the positioning, every come below another in the same that default 2D plane. Okay, so that is what is happening for the first two elements: position static, position static. That is one that layer. Okay, let's do the first position element. That's a Firebug because it's gonna help us here. So see, as I added one class position relative to it, and because of that, its position is relative. And added two things: top 15 pixels, like from, and left is 50 pixels. So in a, I am saying from its default position, that default position is that white space behind it. Move top means move bottom actually. So actually that much space
on top and
on the top, and leave that much space from the left from this side. Okay. And when we think about 3Ds, it's not there in actual sense, it's not there in that default layer. Okay. Because that you can see, because the next element is coming below it. You quickly see that effect. But there's one, remember the space of this thing, that invisible space is still there. So in a way, it's like creating two copies of it. One is there in the default flow, but it's not visible. Maybe in the code it's doing the same thing. Like set visibility to hidden to this element, create layer, that thing inside the new layer. Now the
So its Z index is
automatically +1.
+1.
So all Z index non-static positioned elements have a Z index. So they are towards you. So that whole thing will come below it. Okay, we can see on the page. So now makes sense?
Can you select this div3? Does it?
3? Yeah, this one?
In the
Invisible.
in the firebox.
This is bug only. Oh. 3.
And this div_3 if you select, the top is equal to 15. Does it show anything?
There div
No.
3.
On the right hand side.
Yeah.
Yes, you select these things. Does it represent anything?
No, I have to
Can
select
you click on
elements
that?
from the left.
Can you click on that?
I have div.
Yes. Right.
This is a rule.
There, can you touch? Can you?
You want to see that image or what you want to see?
Does it come? Does it come? That's what. Just select here.
What you want to do?
Match CSS rules. Can you select?
Huh?
Click on that.
What do you want to achieve from that? That is my
Just want
question.
to see and you.
Selected this div C of C. This thing you.
It's actually a rule, it is.
Yeah.
This rule
Code.
is not an element. Okay.
What will happen?
Wanted
Just wanted to know what will happen.
So we can change the color and all. I have selected from here, and that is the way to do that. That's the only rules. That's why I was asked what you want to achieve out of it. Okay, so you can select from here. See highlight. It showed like how much space is staying actually, and how much is the padding. Okay, fine. So now positioning is clear. Okay.
Clear?
Clear?
Clear flow.
Okay. Clear word. We should not say that. Okay.
Hey, it's clear where God. I was like waiting for absolute now.
Okay. Let's come to the absolute one. So this is defined with.
What that absolute one is alphabet?
Yeah, because I purposefully done that. Okay, let's quickly come to the absolute definition. It says, okay, it's a kind of relative, but in of first, it won't create the space. It won't keep the space of that. It won't make it invisible. It simply showing your element inside the some other layer. So your element is not there in the default thing. Anymore.
Copy.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so that
You
is
see in the code, P5 is again placed like after only. So it would there should be some space for reserved for the div5 also, but it's not. Because when you say position absolute, your it comes out of from the default plane, and you can say a separate layer will be created for your thing, and it's over there. And now let's see where exactly it will go. So that definition goes related to first and third element that has a position other than static or non-static.
Complex rule.
No, it's not that
other than
complex.
static.
I will.
Relative वाले को click करें.
First ancestor element which is non-static.
Okay, I will explain like how it works.
So it's relative to the. It's relative to the.
First relative element.
Let's come to the picture
Last
now.
relative element. Yeah.
You need not to like stress too much because I've already like created the both examples. So the first one, let's say when we created this element div5, the position is absolute, and I have said top is equal to 50 and left is equal to 600. Looks like this much space is a 50, this much, and this was is 600. Okay. If you want, I can. Where is that thing goes? No,
Wow.
yeah. So when I have this this thing, it shows me. See, this is the 600 from the left side. This is 50 for top. Yeah. So because in case of this div, let's go to the code now quickly and see this div is which one? Body.
Body.
Because there was no as a non-static positioning attribute. By default, it goes to the body element. If so, the logic goes like this, which I yeah. The first ancestor element that has an other than static. If that fails, it goes to the top, that is body. You can say the window size.
But it has a position other than static, right? These
No,
three.
first ancestor element that has a position other than
Parent element.
No. Parent is not the right word.
Any
Ancestor
Okay.
means, for example, we'll come to that.
Not the parent.
Immediate parent. It can be any ancestor. Let's create one block.
hierarchy of parents. Like.
Yeah, hierarchy of. And one means, so it goes like this. First it tests the parent element. If whether its position is non-static, if it checks the next.
Like
If it is fails, it's a body, and body is for that matter is a non-static kind of. Okay. Then it shows related to the body. The top and left becomes related to the body. But in between, if it finds any element ancestor that has non-static positioning, that it will display according to it.
I think your block is.
Yeah. Let's come to quickly to these two things. So div 6 has
Understood. That we understood.
got it? Or
You
let me
can
just
still explain,
at
yeah,
least show it, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so this div has a position relative. It's some position.
Relative, yeah.
Okay, and even let's go. See, this div 6, okay, is a position relative. We have a non-static ancestor. In this case, it's a parent. And two children. Div 7 both has a absolute positioning. Okay, and this thing is from top 70 pixels and left 110. But see this, so it's relative from the parent, not window. In this case, this guy, because it doesn't have any non-static parent, it goes till the body. But in this case, it takes from here. And let's quickly see the Z index also in these two. So the first one has an index 3, which is more than the other one. And I mean, that's why the first one is coming over the top. If we where is that? If we this property Z index, the one takes the index, because by default, if there is no Z index, whatever comes after in the DOM takes the upper space. Each absolute element has their own layer. Right. I want that each absolute element, think about layers, and each element has their own layer. So then the element, everything is a transparent. So feel it. Okay.
Relative, there is a separate layer, right?
Actually, in case of relative, there is invisible space inside the default layer, and then there is a layer
on top of
for
it.
the element. Yes.
relative is relative greedy. The space also.
Okay.
Waste of memory space.
Okay, guys, quickly because it's getting. How much time we have? It's already over.
No, we still have.
Explained very nicely.
3 to 4.
Yeah, 3 to 4 it was.
1 hour is over. We
So
didn't realize it.
looks like CSS. I'm left with like.
No, I think we might have started a little late.
No, but it took more space. Okay, do you want to like break? Because
We'll
it's
break
like
it. How many
10
slides are there?
10-15 minimum. Minimum there will be. But if you are ready to extend it, it will take only 10-15 minutes.
Or is it?
Huh? You want to do tomorrow? Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Timing. If you can explain that.
Sure. Yeah, please.
Thing again.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe, yeah.
Let's quickly give me answer to
The position absolute 1.
position 1. Yeah.
So why was this guy's first ancestral static element, whatever that was, the body.
Directly on the body.
Let's quickly look inside that. So this is the element that div 5, which is we are talking about here. Pursuit 1. See the point of it, there is no parent actually. In
And 8 is inside div 6. Div 7 and 8 are defined.
but see,
whatever is the container
let
it
me
is in,
explain.
related
Even
to
if
the container.
even if I add one simple div without positioning,
Here, yeah.
it will still go there. Unless it's a non-static parent, otherwise follow the body.
Oh, I didn't see that the 7 and 8 were under.
Don't say what, just say the container. If nothing is a body is a container.
Yeah.
Body is a static, so with respect to the body, it will be relative.
So
Ancestor,
I'm
not parent.
stopping the
Mere
recording.
container.
Okay.
I should move to my.
Relative to